Welcome back to Rollin with Olan. I'm Jeff Olan, your host. My guest today began acting at 17 years old with super agent Jack Gilardi from ICM, who also repped Sylvester Stallone, Burt Reynolds, Shirley MacLaine, and many others.
Yeah.
Bobbie Chance. Hello, Bobbie. How are you? And thank you
Hel-
so much for joining me.
Hello, Jeff. Howdy, howdy.
Been a while, so I thank you so much. Look, let's just get into just a couple of things here, and I love your stories. I love who you are, and I really appreciate it. And you look so fabulous. So
Thank.
thank you again for joining us.
I have
Oh,
to tell you,
what?
really funny. Somebody
Yeah.
said to me, "How old are you?" You know, and I said, "I'm in my late." Love that answer.
That's perfect. Absolutely. Oh my God. Well, let me ask you. You started out. You were dancing in Vegas, and you were, from what I read, you were discovered at the age of 17. Is that
Seven,
correct?
yes, 17, and
Can
I
you?
really wasn't dancing. I came out to California and I was living in Malibu with one of my first husbands, and Monty Prosier was his name. He was a producer, and he said, "Do you sing and dance?" And I said, "Of course, doesn't everybody?" And I just winged it. I I
Yeah.
lit- I sat on his desk and I sang. Remember the song "Deo Deo"?
Deo, Deo.
I
Want you
sang
out
that.
of. Yeah.
And you're hired. You know. And I ended up in Vegas, but I love dancing, but I'm really not a dancer.
Yeah. You really weren't even pursuing the acting route or anything, right?
No, not at all. But Jack Gilardi was a friend of a family member's friend. And they said, "Oh, when you go out to California, look him up." And I looked him up, and it's like I have this thing. I don't know, the universe has been guiding me for a very long time. I just show up at the right place at the right time with the right people. And I went to Jack Gilardi's office and he said, AIP is looking for a Swedish girl to play a role. Have you ever done any acting? And I said, no. And he said, that's okay. Go see the director. So I did. I went and saw the director.
Oh, that's amazing.
Boom.
And I believe, I read that they put you on a contract for 6 movies at that time, and one of them
Yeah.
being they were all the beach movies back then, and like Beach Blanket Bingo and all that.
Yeah, beach blanket bingo and all that. It was really a wonderful experience. I got hired right on the spot, and then when we did, I think the first film was Beach Blanket Bingo. They put me under a 6 film contract, and it was an incredible experience because I got to work as a 17-year-old with Buster Keaton,
I
who
know.
who was an old man at that time, and he was just got sober. His wife got him sober, and he was making the beach party films. And I think we did 4 of them together. And we used to sit in his dressing room every day for lunch, and he would teach me comedy. Look who I learned comedy from. I mean, talk about luck.
Incredible, legendary. I was going to talk about Buster Keaton because for our younger audience, look him up if you don't know who he is. But an incredibly funny man back in the day, and for you to be paired up with him to dance in all those bikini movies, I mean, what an incredible start to a career.
What's really wild is that Turner Classic movies, which I love, and I'm sure you do too, and a lot of
Hmm.
your audience. They at least once a year they show like 3 or 4 beach party films in a row, and I get to like relive all that time with Buster. I mean, he was just so. They even have a Buster Keaton international fan club, and they invited me to come speak at it. And I mean, the stories I have with that man.
Oh, I can only imagine. Unbelievable. Well, Bobby, when I was a kid growing up, I loved those beach movies and the TV shows and whatever with, as the audience that does know, it was with Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello and obviously you got top credit in it as well.
Yeah.
And those were thrilling times. And for me to be able to talk to you now, and I've known you for a while, but for me to be able to talk to you and just know that I'm sharing this with my audience it's just incredible because I had such a great time back in the days watching that. One other thing point I want to make, and correct me if I'm right on this or so.
Yeah.
You were one of the first, like, wasn't it one of the first movies or shows that actually used young girls in bikinis?
It was the very first. The beach party movies were made strictly for teenagers, and that's Hollywood history. There were no other movies around. They would maybe have a teenager in it. These movies were made for teenagers, and I get like maybe 5 fan letters a week to this day. Like a lot of years afterwards, and with Frankie and the late Annette Funicello. She didn't like me at all. She was very jealous of me. So God rest her soul. But
Yeah.
she made it a little uncomfortable for the new kid on the block. And they were grooming me to be the next Marilyn Monroe, which
Hmm.
was sort of like a double-edged sword for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't like that. I said, I am who I am, and you got to take me for who I am. And the original photographer that did the book, Norma Jean, he
Hmm.
saw me running in Malibu with my big titties and my butt bouncing around in my little bikini. And he said, I've got to take pictures of you like I did Marilyn. He wrote the first book, Norma Jean. And I said, okay. And he started taking pictures and he started to make me look like a young Marilyn. And I just walked out. I
That's
said, I don't do that.
wow.
I don't do that. I do me, you know. And that was a very young Bobbie Shaw Chance.
That's incredible. Those stories are, their history. And I also read, which I'm guessing of, that Walt Disney himself was not really happy with those beach films. It said that they perceived, like, for the public, as childhood delinquency. Had you ever heard that before?
No, I had never heard that. I mean, they were really innocent. It was a very innocent time. But something that I was just talking to my beautiful assistant, something that always bothered me, they never ever used black actors or Asian actors. It was all white kids.
Mm,
It was a time of, you know, uh, white kids in movies and white adults in movies. And I remember one story we went to, when we made a beach party film, they sent us to, the first one, they sent us to Texas. And we did 14 city interviews in 19 days. And that's a lot.
yeah.
Rock and roll musicians don't even do that many. And I remember being, I think it was in Austin, and I was on the air, and the interviewer wanted to talk about my fur-lined and gold lame bikini and how it felt dancing in my bikini. And I looked at him and I said to him, "You've asked me a lot of questions. Can I ask you one?" And he said, "Sure." I said, "How come the bathroom says white only?" And he said, "What?"
Wow.
I said, "How come your bathrooms say white only?"
Mm.
And the next thing I know, they whisked me off. They sent the limousine over to the television station and they whisked me off back to my hotel. And I definitely got reprimanded when I came back to Hollywood. The producers said, "You don't talk about things like that."
Oh, wow.
It was
Wow.
it was very difficult for me because I thought it was really unfair. The only black the only black person they had in any of the beach party films was James Brown singing,
Wow.
you know.
That's
And
that's incredible. That's
it
incredible,
bothered
but it's incredible, but not surprising when you know that, in this country, in the 60s, and even into the early 70s in the South,
yeah,
it was still, there was so much prejudice. It's
yeah,
really sad. Yeah.
yeah, it bothered me as a young girl. It really bothered me, and I couldn't do anything about it except walk away from it all. It's one of the reasons I walked out on my contract. You know, I
Wow.
I said, I wish I had the same bikini. I wish I owned it now. I'm sure I could get a lot of money
You
for
could get a lot. It would be in the Smithsonian.
it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I've got
What was?
pictures of Buster Keaton and I and memories of working with them. And it was a wonderful, very innocent, it was an interesting time. It was innocent on one hand and a very dark time on another. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
an interesting time that
yeah.
we live.
Think about it. That was like the early beach movies. There was nothing else at that time, and you
Right.
guys were just playing in the sand, getting paid for it, having a good time, and shooting these
We had a great.
projects.
I lived in Malibu at the time, and we shot at Raleigh Studios. So I mean, I was that blonde girl in my Corvette driving from Malibu to Raleigh Studios to shoot, and then driving back out to Leo Carrillo Beach to make the movies. And we had a great time. It was a wonderful experience. I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you, in those days, what were the like? What were the size of the crews? Were they like today's sizes or a lot smaller?
I don't remember there being. A couple of years ago, I did Bruce Willis's last film that
Hmm.
Randy Emmett directed, and Bruce Willis, Megan Fox, myself, and Emile Hirsch,
Mm.
and we. It was right at the end of COVID, and we were at a ranch in Santa Barbara. There were so many people.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember the Beach Party movies. I mean, there was like the assistant to the assistant to the assistant.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, you had you did all those beach films and then you had a lot of like long gaps between your acting career. Was that due to marriages and what have you, or what were you
A
doing
lot of
during
marriage.
that time?
A lot of marriages.
A lot
So,
of
so actually, from the Beach Party movies to one of the producers in the Beach Party movies, DK, word his name was, he says, I know some young actors putting together an improv group. And here's another thing of
Yeah.
showing up at the right place. There was no improv. There was no Saturday Night Live, no In Living Color, nothing.
Mm.
And he said, Richard Dreyfuss, Rob Reiner, and two other actors. He said, why don't you go meet with them? And they hired me on the spot. And I had never done improv, but I was really, really good at it. And I think Buster Keaton had a lot to do with that because he was so in the moment. And we did a whole bunch of television appearances. Remember, there was no improv
Yeah.
on anything, television or film. Everything was scripted. And so we had a great time. We got kicked out of the Playboy Club because we were very raunchy for our
Oh,
time. Yeah, it was great. And then Dreyfus and I have become lifelong friends. He's a wonderful
wow.
actor. Yeah.
I
And
love that.
Robbie Reiner. You know, we lived in New York and we became like a family. It was really a cool experience. Then I got married again and had a couple of babies and I got really bored. And my husband, God rest his soul, he said, why don't you start coaching actors? And I
Hmm.
said, I never did that before. He said, but you'll be terrific at it.
Yeah.
So with my pregnant belly, I started coaching kids of famous celebrities
Hmm.
like Drew Barrymore and
Yes, I want to get to yeah. How was
Stephen.
that? Because she was 10 years old when you were
She
coaching
was
her, right?
10 years old. She was amazing. She's so amazing. I mean, there's nobody like her.
Yeah.
She's magical. But Stephen Dorff and Vani Ribisi, who
Yeah.
is an incredible.
Giovanni Ribisi, and even, I mean, you worked with so many people, and I do want to cover that. I want to back up just for a second, though. You did a movie called Pipe Dream in 1976 with
Oh,
Gladys Knight, and
oh,
I believe you're probably still friends with her because she was on this show, Sally Kirkland.
really?
Yeah,
Yes.
she was
Sally,
one of my guests.
we shot. We shot. Oh, I know what it was. They were doing this. They were doing Pipe Dreams. It was the first pretty much all black romantic film. They were shooting in Alaska, and a friend of mine was Gladys's manager. And I said, just, get me a read. So he got me an audition, and he was handling Madonna, Michael Jackson, Gladys Knight, and Stevie Winwood at the time. He only had
Mm,
4 clients. He didn't
wow.
need anyone else. And so I went on the audition, and the casting director said, "I'm sorry, Bobbie, but you're too innocent and too pretty for the role." And I said, "What's your problem? I'm an actor. Just let me meet the director." "Well, I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah." Anyway, I went over her head. I called my friend Ron. I said, "She won't let me in to meet the director." So he said, "I'll call for you." Picked up the phone, got me in to meet the director. He hired me on the spot. On the
Wow.
spot. I had
Mm.
such a good time walking out of his office and giving her a look, like, fuck you,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Sometimes you have to do that. Yeah,
give actors a chance, It doesn't matter how somebody looks, it's how they understand the part and what they give
yeah.
the part. Anyway, so we went to Alaska, and it was an incredible experience. Very cold. But Gladys was terrific. Gladys, I coached her as well because she had
That's
never
amazing.
done acting. And I said, "Gladys, just come out of the same place you sing from and you'll own the film." So there were a
Yeah.
lot of political stuff with the film, but it was a great experience for me. I loved it.
Wow. Well, you went on, you did some other films, and then the last film you did was in 2021, Midnight in Switchgrass with
Yeah,
Bruce Willis and Megan
with
Fox.
with Bruce Willis and Megan Fox, and it was really interesting because Randy Emmett, I guess best known for his affair with Lala from
Hmm.
Vanderpump Rules, right?
Right.
Best known,
You're
but
watching those shows, yes.
yeah, woo! But Randy, it was his first film as a director. So it was really a wonderful experience. And I had a great time on the set. Uh, I played a woman who finds out that the killer who's killing young women and chaining them up in his barn is my neighbor.
Oh,
And he knocks at my door, and I'm supposed to be friendly and warm to him, but I know that I find out that he's the killer. And it's a cool story. I really loved working with those actors. They were
yeah.
really really good actors,
Yeah, you
and
had a good time on there.
and Randy did a great job directing his first.
Yeah.
I had I had an incident I have to tell you on the set. The killer comes to my house, and at the end of the scene, at the top of my voice, I screamed out to him, "You asshole!" and some other names. And he looked at me, and Randy came running in from the other room. He said, "Bobbie, are you okay?" And the actor looked at me, and the killer actor, he said, "I'm sorry. What did I do? I'm sorry." I said, "Nothing. You didn't do anything. I was just like responding to that you're a killer." And Randy goes, "Bobbie, don't scare me like that."
They were all scared, right?
They were all scared. Everybody got scared. But
That's
I had to wake
funny.
everybody up.
It's a little bit of a real life there, but it's understandable.
It was a lot of life. It was a
Yeah.
lot of life.
It's understandable. Well, look, you have so many stories, and you tell your students that now, and all kinds of different things. But so let's get into. So you opened up Hollywood Actor Studio over
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
You're one of the most well known acting coaches in Hollywood. I mean, you have to look back at that. I mean, it just happened like that, no doubt. But you had several A-listers, as we talked about. Scarlett Johansson. Did I say
Yeah.
her name right?
Came to
Ryan
my
Reynolds.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds. Well, let me start with Scarlett. You'd walk right by her. You'd say, "Oh, she's cute. She's blonde. She's cute." You'd walk right by her. It was through the work that we did there, both myself, my husband, and my son Richie, who we'll
Richie.
talk about later.
Yep.
It's because of the work that she found Scarlett Johansson. She found her strength. Ryan Reynolds would come to the studio. He would be the class clown, but he was the first one there. and the last one to leave, and he soaked everything up like a sponge. And people don't know that. They just see the famous Ryan Reynolds or the famous celebrity. Brad Pitt came to our studio.
Right.
My daughter was having dinner at Casa Vega next door to our
Next door, right? In Studio
store,
City.
Landmark, and she saw Brad Pitt, and she went over to him because every Thursday night we had showcases, top
Hmm.
industry showcases, so that our actors could not only do the work but get seen and get hired. Entire movies were cast out of our studio. She went over to Brad Pitt, and he was having dinner with Jennifer Aniston at the time, and she said, "My mom's an acting coach next door. Would you come up to our studio and take a look and say hi?"
Oh, that's great.
Door opens up, and I see just a shadow of people. I couldn't make out who it was, and I hear a voice yell, and he says, "Can we sit in and watch?" And then I saw who it was, and I didn't know why he was there. And I said, "Well, you're an actor, aren't you?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you can't watch. You got to get on
You
stage."
participate, right?
I was either going to kiss him in or out.
Yeah.
And he got up and he worked with all the actors. Jennifer going, "Me too, me too." She got up and worked with all the actors.
That's
And
so great. That's so great. You also had Sir Anthony Hopkins come through?
oh, that was a wonderful experience. He came in with my friend Brian Grazier, Gavin Grazier, whose
Yevon.
brother is Brian Grazier, who
Hmm.
owns Imagine Films.
Right.
So,
Brian and Ron Howard
yeah,
part, right?
so
Yeah.
Gavin calls me, "Bobbie, can I bring a friend to the showcase?" Of course you can, So I pull into the driveway, and Anthony Hopkins is standing there. And I went, "Oh my God, why didn't he tell me it was, you know?" So I asked him at the end of the evening, he watched all the actors work and he was blown away. I said, "Would you do an improv?" And he said, "No, I don't do improv. So I only work on scripts." I said, "Please." And everybody, 75 people clapping. So, so anyway, he ended up doing an improv with my son, Richie, because I knew I could trust Richie. He's an incredible, amazing talent and director.
Mm-hmm.
And they did an improv, and he wouldn't stop. He kept going and going. And finally, it ended, and everybody was just blown away.
Let me ask you about teaching Drew Barrymore, like you were talking about earlier. I mean, you actually spent some time with her at 10 years old. I mean, you were really there for her.
A lot of time. I spent a lot of time with her, and um, she she was just always a free soul, and really was a natural actress. I don't think there's a lot of actors in Hollywood that are that natural as Drew is. She's just like so spontaneous, emotionally available. And I just adore her. I'm so glad she's having such great success today.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful, absolutely. You know, I was invited, as you know, I was invited to some of your showcases. I was able to make the ones I could.
Yeah.
You're, right down the block from my offices.
Yeah.
Have you always been in that Studio City location in the past 30 some years?
Pretty much. When I first started out, I started out at a little school that my daughter went to, where Drew and Stephen Dorff and Brian, just a whole bunch of kids, and then that's the only place, the other place that I had, and we were there for almost 30 something years. And as
Yeah,
you know, every Thursday night, top producers, directors, casting people like yourself, studio heads would come in. I mean, of A-list films.
incredible and incredible talent. I mean, what you and Richie and everybody helped these people with their careers. I want to get into this because there's a lot of actors that tune into this podcast and others. But what's the best way to select the right acting coach? Do you believe? Is there something that you feel?
Well,
Because there's so many, especially in Los Angeles
no,
or New
I
York or.
when I started, there were very few,
Mhm.
um, and now there's one on every street corner.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
best advice I would tell actors is, sit in on it and really trust your gut and trust your meter reader, because most of it is bullshit, excuse my French, and
No,
big
please.
and business. Most of it is business. They just want your money, and you have to sit in, and if it rings true to you, then you're trust it. If you see the lies and the hustle, it really bothers me that anybody would take advantage of actors like that. If you're going to rip somebody off, rip off the airlines or the phone
Yeah,
company or the gas company. Don't rip off actors. And so just be careful. I wish we still had our studio, but we shut down over COVID, and I'm
yeah.
now and uh, and directing. But we have Hollywood's #1 online class that my son Richie is coaching, and what he's done is not only bringing our work to what he's doing, working with actors online, but he's also got showcase. So at the end of every few weeks, there's a showcase, not with 18 or 20 producers like I used to have, but at least one or two top A-list people come in to the online class and watch the talent, which I don't think anybody else is doing. I don't know. God bless you.
No, yeah, God bless you. I could not agree with you more about, actors being, taken advantage of and how horrible that is. And I've
Yeah.
always given the best advice that I could. And, people from your former students, especially the way they talk about you and what you were able to give to them on a daily basis is incredible. I've had so many of them that have talked about you in conversations, and of course, what Richie does now and everything else. I mean, it's to get the right coach or the right acting teacher. It's hard, and I don't even know. And maybe I don't even know if there's a lot of classes you could audit nowadays or what have you. I mean, it used to
Well,
be.
if you can't audit it, don't join it.
Don't go.
Don't go.
Yeah,
Don't go, because and it's not my position to demean anybody, but there's it's
yeah.
just really corrupt. Like this whole thing with the actors studio. So and so went there, and so went there.
Right. Don't believe everything you hear.
Don't
Basically, like go audit the class. If it's online, make sure
if
you can
it's
audit it. Don't just
right,
go and sign up and spend all
right,
kinds of money on it.
right. If it's right for you, start trusting your gut right away, and you'll know. But most of it is, all my actors want me to come back and reopen the studio, but I'm busy directing now, which I'm really enjoying.
Yeah,
And
and I want to get into that. I want to get into that, but I also want to say this because our audience is from all over the world here, and people tune in all over the place. And it's not just Hollywood anymore. Even though Bobbie is one of the biggest acting coaches here in Hollywood and has done an incredible job with people, this is all over the world. So
yeah,
listen to her advice. Audit the class. Do not spend money foolishly. Make sure you know what you're doing. Talk to people. Right?
yep, absolutely. And uh, you know, I definitely like Richie's working out of Barcelona. He lives in Barcelona. He's directing films in Belgium and in Paris, and is coming back here to do a live workshop. We're going to do it together.
Right.
But a lot of people say, well, I don't want to do online classes. But I think for actors, like, because it's so global now, to really get a Hollywood perspective on your work as an actor is a very, very cool thing to do. And I love the fact that he gives the actors the opportunity to be seen and get hired. It's very hard for them to get an audition, as you know.
Yeah.
It's hard for actors without big resumes and credits to get an audition. So the fact that he's bringing in A-list directors to the online gives them an opportunity, complete unknowns, and they've already gotten hired. So that's exciting. But be careful. That's my advice. Don't
Yeah.
even listen to me. Go out there and trust your gut. And if it rings true, you know, then go for it.
Yeah, yeah. And you look, Richie is tough like mom, tough as steels. Can you tell a story about when Kim Kardashian came to the studio and what Richie said to her?
How
You
did you know about that?
I do my research on things like that.
Listen, they called me. They called me up, the Kardashian producers, and they said, "You're the number one acting coach. We want to do an episode. We want to do a couple of episodes and send the Kardashian sisters to you." So they sent me Chloe and Courtney, and it was one of the number one repeat uh, episodes that they've shown,
Hmm.
and they sent Kim to Richie because he's young and handsome and 6'3" and got a lot of fire, and they figured there would be nice chemistry. So she comes into the studio, and we're really serious about our work. We eat, sleep, drink, and
Hmm.
he told her that the work.
Yeah.
So all the actors are on stage doing some warm up emotional exercises. I can't believe you knew about this. And Kim is standing there with her arms tightly crossed and her face very uptight. And Richie says, "Kim, you got to do this. This is what we do. We eat, sleep, drink, and dream this stuff. This is our work. And if you're here on my stage, and four cameras, Jeff, that's a lot.
Hmm.
Four cameras are rolling, and a lot of people are at the studio." And she says, "I don't want to do this." And you don't talk to Richie that way.
No.
He said, "What do you mean you don't want to do this? You're here on my stage. You come here to work.
Yeah.
Forget about your show. You come here to work as an actor." She said, "Well, I'm not an actress." And spontaneously, like that, he said, "Well, then get your fat ass off my stage." I was so proud of him in that moment. I mean, I'm proud of him anyway, but in that moment, meanwhile, four cameras are rolling, and the producers came over to Richie and they said, "Richie, would you mind doing that same thing again, only on the patio that you did on the stage?" He said, "We want to get that again." He said, "Of course I will." And she puffed, she huffed and puffed and moseyed out the door. It was so
Incredible.
great, and everybody went, "Yay, Richie!"
Incredible story. Richie is he's tough. He's tough.
He,
I don't want to forget about it. What's the best way to get in touch with Richie now if people were interested in taking his class?
it's RichieChance.com. Easy. And it's RICHIE.com. And that'll lead you to the link of his online classes. And,
Great.
I have no problem with an actor saying, "Well, I don't know, I don't know who he is or anything." But just the mere fact that those new actors without any resume or any credits are going to get a shot to have their work seen
Hmm.
by A-list directors and producers, because you can't get in.
Right.
You can't get in the door. But he's bringing them, you know, to our online stuff. So they should
Right.
check RichieChance.com.
Yeah, and I highly recommend. And
That
Richie was in. Look, he grew up in showbiz. He grew up with you. You. I mean, look, there's something to it when people grow up in the business. They know. And I didn't grow up in the business, but I was completely educated. I did things on my own, but I really worked at it every single day. Like you said,
yeah,
you got to live and breathe it. Otherwise, don't do it.
that's right. Richie grew up, his dad, who just passed away,
I'm
God
sorry
rest
about.
his soul. His
Yeah.
dad was a writer. His dad starred in 125 TV westerns uh, and films. And I have to show you something. You'll really like this. Can you see it?
Larry, yeah, from Duke.
From Duke, John Wayne.
Wow,
He, as a matter of
incredible.
fact, I just gave a friend of ours, Dr. Rico Simononi, who's an actor, I just gave him a chair that belonged to Gary Cooper,
Oh
that
my,
Larry worked on with Gary Cooper. He worked with everybody. I mean, talk about old Hollywood. Everybody.
unbelievable.
Clark Gable, Gary Cooper. Um, uh, he was called to go to the plastic surgeon with Marilyn Monroe. She was afraid to go by herself, so her manager called Larry and said, "Would you go with her?" I said to him, I said, "Did you ever have an affair with her?" He said, "No." He said, "I didn't." I said, "How could you have turned her down?" He said, it didn't feel right to me. You know,
Wow.
he lived
Because
with
he had you.
he. No, I didn't meet him for 20 years
Oh,
after,
okay.
but thank you.
Yes, of course.
He lived with Ava Gardner when he was 19.
Wow.
He got Hollywood stories.
That's incredible. Well,
So,
like you said, those are stories. Those are stories that the younger audience may not know some of these people, and if you don't look them up seriously, these are Hollywood legends. And
yeah,
I mean, Larry being so busy doing all that work, and then both of your kids help you nowadays in the industry, right? I mean, Richie, you also have a daughter, correct?
yes, I have a daughter who, well, she's mostly involved in AA, working with mostly young people who have lost their way into
Hmm.
drugs and alcohol. And I'm so proud of her because she's devoted her time now to doing that. Um, and she also helped me write a show
Hmm.
that we were going to do with Larry Namer,
Oh,
who
yes, of
started
course.
Entertainment. And so Larry and we're talking back and forth about doing a show together. I love him. I hope he does I hope
I
he,
hope so. We're in contact.
okay, I'm so
Yeah,
glad.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad of that. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. And Bobbie, you're also, I mean, you talk about your daughter and what she's doing, and also you're a big advocate of the abused children
oh,
and help. I mean, you've been doing that for years. Can you talk about that for a
well,
bit?
just, my kids grew up with that because I really believe that you have to give back, no matter what. No, why wait until you're famous to give
Hmm.
back? Give back wherever you can. And I always used to tell my actors that, and I still do. So we used to put on shows at my studio for the abused kids for free arts, and they'd come in all uptight. These were the kids that got it the worst.
Yeah,
And they'd come in very uptight. And then after about 20 minutes of doing improvs, me, can I go? Can I? It was just the most wonderful thing. We did it for maybe 25 years, and now I just kind of like, help them out. And I've donated many of my beach party paraphernalia and posters and everything to help them raise money. So, I really suggest that people, whether they're celebrity or newcomers, find something that they believe in and want to help, and do what you can to help other people. Because what the heck are we here for?
yeah. What the hell? Yeah, I get it. And thank you for everything you do, and you do a lot. And I want to bring up that you received the 80th Golden Halo Award.
Oh,
It's a special impact award. Let me just tell the audience first, before I get your take on what your feeling was that just getting it. But you are in the same, I would say, group school as Michael Jackson, Lucille Ball, Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly, Mickey Rooney, who was in my movie Holy Hollywood, as well as your other friend Tony Tarantino was in my movie too. But look, you got that award. How was that? And tell us a little bit about your feeling.
well, it was magical. I've received a lot of awards. My on my office wall here, I've got like 20 different awards from the all these different departments and all. But the sheriff's office, the mayor's office,
Of course.
but this award was so special to me because Lucille Ball got it, and Audrey Hepburn,
Mm.
and John Travolta, and Michael Jackson, and Lucille Ball. And
And
when,
Martin Landau and Betty Davis, I think, and on and on.
yeah, I mean, it's just like really nice to be in such wonderful company. And I was shocked because I didn't know I was going to get it. It came as a surprise. The producers of the award show came up to my studio during a class, not even a Thursday night, but during a class. And they said, "We have something to tell you. We're doing an award show and we would like you to attend." And I said, "I don't know if I'm going to be able to, if I'm busy that night or not." "Oh, no, no, you have to attend." "You mean I have to?" have to attend because you're getting the Halo Award.
Wow.
I literally fell backwards. My actors had to catch me. It was a beautiful thing.
Incredible. Incredible. What an honor, and so well deserved. And then again back in 2016, you were recognized by Entertainment
Yeah.
as acting coach to the stars. That's probably another award you have somewhere
Yeah.
in the room.
I've done a lot of, I did, I think 13 reality
Yeah,
shows,
yeah.
you know, uh, The Next Hollywood Star, um, Fight for Fame, all of these shows. So one of the shows was being produced by Entertainment. And it's so funny because I didn't know Larry Namer then. I
Hmm.
didn't know him.
Oh wow.
And, um, and they named me acting coach to the stars, which was really cool because there's a couple of other studios in town that are as famous as our studio, as
Hmm.
Hollywood Actors Showcase, but none of them got picked by the number one entertainment network in Hollywood. So that was nice. That was very cool. I
That
enjoyed it
that's
a lot.
very cool. Well, you've done your work. You've paid your dues in the early days, and then you helped others, and you have touched so many people's lives throughout your career. Let me just a couple of questions that I think the actors would really benefit from. How
Yeah.
should actors prepare for an audition nowadays? What's the
No,
best preparation?
well, I don't think anything really has ever changed. Now it's all being done electronically and
Yeah,
computer and
self
internet,
tape. Yeah.
self tapes, but nothing's really changed. I think the actor has to like smack it with the role because you
Hmm.
can't have two people in front of the camera. It's either the actor or the part,
Hmm. Yeah,
and they have to make that choice. They have to make that choice. Is it about me, 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 how I look, how I sound? Are they going to like me? Or is it me giving it over to the part? So nothing's really changed, whether it's on tape or in person. Um, I know you had my friend Mark Teschner on your show, who
yeah.
I just love Mark. He's
Absolutely. Mark's wonderful.
a good
Yeah.
guy. And nothing's really changed.
Yeah.
Hollywood is Hollywood. Auditioning is it's the same thing. And you've been involved in casting so long. I'm sure when the door opens up, whether you want that person or not, whether you
That's
want
right. That's right. Right.
it's an instant thing, isn't it? And
It's
your
an instant thing.
your gut meter tells you, yeah,
Yeah. It's an instant thing.
that person is committed. That person is somebody I want to work with. You know.
That's right. That's right. And as casting directors, we know that. As coaches, you know it, and you prepare the people for it. So those people who are listening from all over who want to get into becoming an actor and getting into whether it's Hollywood or somewhere else in the world or the country. What would be your like bullet points for a new actor trying to figure out what their next step is from maybe their local theater or whatever?
Well, you have to study. It's like, oh, well, I want to play Beethoven, but I don't practice the piano, or I want to play baseball. It's no different.
Hmm.
But I want to play baseball, but I don't pick up the bat.
Right.
You act, then you got to act. Actors act. Dancers dance.
Hmm.
Politicians.
What are the biggest misconceptions that actors might have getting into the industry?
Well, I think they think that the industry owes them you know, some kind of living. Maybe somebody won a beauty contest somewhere, so she thinks she's going to be
Yeah.
the next Scarlett Johansson. It's not going to happen. You pay your dues, like you said. You do your work. You put up scene after scene. You get in there and you make a commitment to yourself, and you keep your eyes focused on what you want to do, and you keep aware. I have to tell you a story about a beautiful young actress who some producers wanted to hire her for the lead in a film, And she was so excited. Bobbie, I'm going to meet the three producers. I said, where are you meeting them? At the Bonaventure Hotel, downtown LA. I
Oh,
said, what are you doing? She
yeah.
said, no, they have this script. They want me to come over and pick it up. I said, you don't. I said, didn't your mother ever teach you this? You don't go to a hotel room with three producers. You don't do that. She said, I have to. This part's really important for me. I said, okay, let me just do something. So I called a friend of mine who's a personal manager, and I said, Don, will you do me a favor? Call these producers and tell them that you're going to be accompanying the young actress on the audition. Will you just make up a story? Okay, you're going to be there with her. You don't have to go. And he did it for me. And what do you think they did? They canceled
Canceled.
him.
Canceled. Yeah. Yeah.
So be
No.
smart. Be smart. Actresses come to Hollywood, and I can't mother everybody. I can't do it, but I can give them my advice, which is be smart. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of young people come in and they're so trusting. It's a tough business with tough people, and you have to be smart. So be smart.
Yeah, no, that you couldn't have said it better. There's so many people that come, to Hollywood or wherever they're going, and absolutely don't go to these meetings. Certainly by yourself. If you do go and you feel it's necessary, check it out. Check them out. You could check anybody out online now for the most part,
Right.
and with social media,
Yeah.
check them out. But take somebody with you,
Yeah. There
and
you go.
don't go by yourself.
There you go. Well, my friend really helped save her, and when I called the actress and I said, they canceled your meeting. Bobbie, how could you do that to me? And I told her what I did. And then she said, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't go. So
Yeah,
it's,
that's the best advice you could have
yeah,
given.
it was,
Do you still coach yourself?
I
Do you
do
coach?
that privately. I coach on a weekly basis. I coach different actors. And um, I'm working with an actress who's up for the lead in a major, major film, which is really exciting because she's an unknown and she's
Hmm.
being considered for the starring role. And I'm in touch with some of my celebrities that I work with from time to time, but mostly new talent. And I do it here in my office, which is my studio now.
That's
And
great.
it's something I want to continue doing for as long as I can because I love helping helping actors get work
Helping
and
others.
and turning them into celebrities.
Yeah, I love that. I love
That,
that.
that's a big kick for me. It's like, and it's really interesting because my meter reader, after so many years of doing it, just like with you, my meter reader is really good, and I can see who's going to become a working actor, who's going to go all the way to celebrity, and who's going to end up selling real estate. You know,
Right. 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 And look, we laugh together on that because it's so true. If you don't work on your craft and you don't work on your every day, seriously every day. I always say, hey, you could take Sunday off, right? But every day you should work on your craft. I always say at least 2 hours a day, very heavily, 2 hours a day.
yeah,
Do whatever you can.
I agree with that. I think that it pays off, and most people quit.
Yeah,
Most people quit,
right.
and Bill Clinton, who I never met, but he said something really interesting. He said, I win by never quitting.
I win by yeah. Wow.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
he's
Wow.
going to help
Well,
me.
think about that. Yeah, and you said something interesting. Well, you've said many interesting things. You were quoted once as saying, and I'm not sure if I'm right here. Actors getting lost in the technique. What did you mean by that? Do you remember that
Yeah, not technique, because I don't believe in technique. I think it was misquoted. Actors getting lost in the part
in the part?
when when the part well, I'll give you an example. It's the best way to say it. On the Bruce Willis film that I did with Megan Fox and Bruce Willis and Emile Hirsch, I walked into makeup and wardrobe, which you have to go through before you start
Hmm.
shooting, and the makeup. the makeup girl came over to me and she said, "We're just going to do a little liner and a little mascara." So I said, "You need to stay away from me." And she went, "What?" I said, "Don't come near me with your mascara and your lipstick." And she said, "But that's what I get paid to do." I said, "I don't really give a shit." I said, "You stay away from me. I know the role. I know what she eats, how she sits, what she wears, and what she looks like. And she does not wear mascara and lipstick. So just keep your hands off me." And she said, "But I'll get fired." I said, "You won't get fired. I'll talk to the producer on your behalf." And I did. And it worked out really great because I don't look like Bobbie Chance, I look like
Yeah.
the farm woman because she took me over.
Wow.
And
That's
so my advice to actors is that you got to go in that deep. You got to go in all the way to the part and not leave anything out, anything of you left over. There's no more you. You take in the role, not through
yeah.
technique, not through technique. Technique is cerebral, and it doesn't work like that. Acting is not cerebral. Acting is emotional. We're really emotionalists when you think about it. You
Yeah.
know, acting is coming from feeling, not thought.
Yeah. Yeah. So how thrilled are you that you went into acting into teaching and coaching?
Oh, I love it. It really works well with my personality because
Yeah.
I really care about helping other people succeed. And it means a lot to me. I don't want to just, be their acting coach. I want them to succeed. Richie's the same way. He wants them to be working actors to get out there, not just learn how to act, you know what I mean? Or to give them the space how to act. So it really suits me well. And
Yeah.
now I'm directing.
Yes, I was going to say, what's next? Let's talk about the directing.
But that sounds really weird when I just said now I'm directing. I've been directing for 30. Richie figured out, he said, "Ma, you've directed over 20,000 scenes, more than
Incredible.
Scorsese, Ron Howard, and Steven Spielberg put together." He said, "You've been directing for 30 something years. You
Yeah.
just put it on film." And
It's pretty incredible. Yeah.
I said, "Wait a minute, you're right."
You're right. Just get a camera there and
Get a camera there.
well, you always had the camera. You had cameras. Didn't you have cameras in the
Yeah,
studio?
we used to film a bunch of the scenes. We used to
Yeah.
film scenes and um, but this new project that I'm working on is called The Fixer,
Hmm.
and oh, it's a reality show, and uh, it's about a preacher. His name is Gershom Sikela. He's also a prince from Nigeria, and he's very very good with helping people heal. And so the show The Fixer is about people who are broken, who are their hearts are aching out of loneliness and pain and a whole bunch of other things. And he's very good at putting them on track
Hmm.
emotionally. And so what we did is we shot 2 episodes already, and we're going back to work, I think, in about 2 weeks. And it's very, very exciting. So we're using actors to do the role of these people with the real problems. But
Wow.
it's not like Dr. Phil where it's blah, 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 blah. It's about emotional rebirth of these people. It hasn't been done before. So I named the show The Fixer
Hmm.
because helps fix them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for that because a lot of people are so isolated these days.
Hmm.
Do you find
True.
that so?
Yeah,
There,
I agree with you. So
and
so many people isolated, and they're looking for they're looking for a way out of that, and having people like yourself help them, and you doing a show. I mean, I think it's great. Congratulations on that and on the directing.
thank
But
you. I'm really enjoying. because my actors that I've brought in so far to do these 2 episodes, they're so dynamic that you really believe that these are the people with the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No, this is exciting, and I'm excited for you as a director, and I hope you'll do a lot more after that too.
I'm also thank you, I'm co-producing a major action thriller. I can't give you the information yet. I just talked to my producer this morning. Bobbie, don't say anything.
Shh.
He said the firm, the PR firm has to be the one to, I said, okay,
Yeah.
okay. But he said that I can say that I am co-producing a major budgeted A-list film, which is really exciting because I've never co-produced anything.
Wow, you deserve it. You
Oh,
really deserve it.
thank
Look,
you.
you've been in this industry for so long, and for me to do podcasts like this and having uh, friends, connections, whatever in this industry for so long, and knowing you really for so long, even though we haven't had a chat like this ever.
So
But
nice.
it's nice, because we're all so busy, right? We're just,
Yeah.
it would be like I'd come to the studio or this or that. It'd be a quick hello, how are you? But
Yeah.
it's just wonderful. I love doing these podcasts. I
You're
love
very
talking.
you're very good at it too because you're very comfortable with it. And it's such a
Mhm.
nice, easy vibe. I wouldn't want to do the show if it was like a question and answer kind of. I wouldn't want to do that. Wouldn't interest me. But you have such a nice, relaxed vibe with it. It's just very easy for us to talk. Which is very cool.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
I hope that people watching, I hope that they have a lot of hope in their heart regarding their careers, those young actors out there, or maybe actors, maybe somebody who's in their 60s who just said, that's enough. I want to follow my dream now. You know what I mean? Not just
Right.
the actors, but somebody who's had a change of life and wants to live out their dream before their life is over. I just, I just don't let anything bring you down. Just keep going. Like people call me like an iron fist in a velvet glove, and it really, it
I love
really,
that.
it really suits me. It's how I really am. It's who I am. And I say to them, get on the train and keep going no matter what,
Yeah.
because people are going to try to talk you out of it, or get a job here, or da 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 da. If you have a dream in your heart, you have to feed the passion. You have
Right.
to fight for it because nobody's going to give it to you.
That's right. That's right. Well,
And like,
you've got such a warm heart and always helping people and doing so much. What do you do for yourself when you're not dealing with your family or the business? Do you have any hobbies outside of the biz?
no,
No.
I don't. I'm a maniac. I'm a total maniac. I mean, I love it. I love my actors. I love coaching them. I love seeing them succeed. I love being there for them. People have asked me for a long time to be their managers. I don't want to do that.
Right.
That doesn't interest me. I don't want to be anybody's psychiatrist or anybody's mommy. I got 2 great kids already and grandchildren. But but no, I don't. I love nature. Nature would be my only, you know.
Vice.
Yeah. Nature's my thing. I'm the lady that stares at the tree for a half hour.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
And
Well,
talks,
it what?
stares at the tree and sometimes hugs it.
Oh, hugs. Yeah, a tree hugger. I
Yeah.
love that.
I'm the tree hugger. But, we all have to do what we believe in. And for me, it's really important to live by a code. And that code is, it just carries through in everything I do. And if people around me are not on the same level with me on that code, they're gone really
Yeah.
fast. They don't even get a shot to get in. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I love that.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I have to explain it to you.
No, you don't. You don't. And I'm really grateful that I am. understanding your code, and I've been there with you. Um, Bobbie Shaw Chance, I cannot tell you how excited this has been for me because,
Yeah,
and to talk to you, you're so beautiful. You're such a, like I said, such a beautiful person,
thank you.
and such an incredible inspiration to others and to the actors out there that are listening and want to get going. Make sure, again, what's the, what?
RichieChance.com, RICHIE Chance, CHANCE.com, and that'll hook you up with what we're doing. And also, I do privates, and you can get to me through that website. Is that a website? Yeah, that's a website.
Yeah,
So,
website.
yeah, and get to him for online. And like I said before, I think online is a good place for actors to start. You know,
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, I think it's a fabulous place for them to start, and for any of them to listen to your words and to understand how this is all done. It's been
no,
such a wonderful conversation with you. I
thank
hope we could do it again in the future. As you're doing this movie,
absolutely.
we're going to want to talk about it more and more.
Yeah, I can't. I wish I could mention the name of it and who's involved in it, but it's an
It's
A-list
okay.
action thriller. And one thing that I can mention is that the writer wrote some amazing roles, and I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to get my teeth into this production. But definitely, we'll talk more about it. And
We
thank you
will.
for inviting me. You're terrific, and I'm going to send some influential people your way. I will do that.
Fantastic, fantastic. I love you. You be well,
Thank
and
you.
we'll talk soon. And thanks everyone again for joining me on Rolling with Olan. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, you guys. Bye.